Hi guys, good evening to all of you. So today we are heading towards the next volume of T.S. Grewal, which is in which we'll be dealing about company accounts, right? And the first chapter, what we are going to study is accounting for share capital, right? So in this chapter, we'll be learning what is the meaning of a company, what are the characteristics and features of the company, what is the difference between partnership and company, what are the various kinds of companies, and what is the difference between one person company, private company, and a public company. And also we learn what is incorporation of company, what do you mean by incorporation of company, what is the meaning of share capital, what are the different kinds or classes of shares, right? And what is the difference between preference share, equity share, and so on, right? There'll be a lot of informations in this particular chapter, right? So before we proceed, so guys, if you remember, we have discussed in our earlier classes also. I hope my voice is audible to all of you. Anybody who's not able to hear my voice clearly, or anybody's got voice disturbance?
No, sir, your voice is audible, sir.
Okay, great. So if you remember, when we were doing the chapter of NPO, I said that if you are doing any business in India, right, that business should have a form or a body. Every business which you operate is to have a form and a body, right? So the first form and body which we learned is concept of sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship. So this we learned in 11th standard, which says that if you are starting a business and if you are a single owner, if you are starting a business, and if you're a single owner, then you need to form a sole proprietorship business, correct? And we studied in 11th standard how do we do accounting for a sole proprietorship business, right? So who starts a sole proprietorship? A person who's a single owner, right? So whenever the nature of business is such that the capital requirement is less, and the management of the business can be done by one person, then in that case what do we do is we form a sole proprietorship business, right? So if the capital requirement is limited and the person who is required to manage the business is if one person is sufficient, then we say that you can start a sole proprietorship business, right? Then we had certain limitation in sole proprietorship business. That is, if I want to expand my business, or if I'm doing a business in such a way that the capital requirement is too much, right? So one person, one single owner contributing too much of capital is not possible. Every human being comes with certain restrictions. Every human being has got certain capital restrictions. He does not have unlimited money. Every person has got limited money which he can invest in business in form of capital. So if let's say if I'm doing a business of let's say a construction business, there the capital requirement is comparatively very high. So maybe a sole proprietorship business is a business which is very small business, wherein a person with the amount of 5 to 10 lakh rupees can himself invest and run the business. But in construction business, per person has to invest totally 20 lakh rupees. The total requirement is 40 lakh rupees. The total requirement of the capital is 40 lakh rupees. It is not possible for a single owner. It is not possible for a single owner to invest 40 lakh rupees. So what he will do is he will hunt or search for a partner who can invest. So we'll get 4 partners, each investing 10 lakh rupees. So that's when the concept of partnership was invented. So partnership is basically when the size of the business or nature of business is huge and where you require more capital. To pool more capital, we form partnership business. Or there could be a possibility that if I'm expanding my business, I need more people to manage. Let's say if I'm running an academy by name Fortune's Fun Learning Academy. Currently, I'm single-handedly managing entire business. So tomorrow when I expand this academy, right, there are so many subjects which we are going to teach. There's so many courses which we are going to teach. So one single person doing all the work is not possible. So you might invite more people who can take the ownership of the business and run it as a owner, who can take individual responsibility of the each and every department of the business. So that's when the concept of partnership comes into picture. So this is something which we already studied in 12th standard, where more than one owner, where more than one owner is there in the business. So if you remember, in partnership there are minimum 2 partners and maximum is 50 partners. If you are forming a partnership business, the minimum partners you are supposed to have is 2 and maximum is 50. Hence this maximum 50 comes as a pain point to us. This is a major drawback in partnership. So if I am forming a business which requires, let's say, hundreds of people as owner, then partnership does not allow. That's when the concept of company was introduced. That's when the concept of company was introduced. So if you see in a company, minimum there has to be minimum 2 owners, maximum can be 200 or unlimited depending on which kind of company you form. If you're having a private limited company, then maximum owners what you can have is 200. And if you're a limited company, then the number of limit for the owner is unlimited. For limited, it is unlimited. For limited company, it is unlimited. For private limited company, it is 200. See, if I'm starting a construction business at a very large scale, I'm constructing 300 apartments. 300 apartments. Do you think that 50 owner put together can, invest the capital? Let's say on an average, to construct an apartment, the cost what we are going to incur is 50 lakh rupees. So let's take on the simpler side for easier calculation. Let's say I'm constructing 100 apartments. Each apartment is going to cost me 50 lakh rupees. So can you please tell me what will be the total requirement of the money? Can I say 50 crore?
50 crores.
50 crores. All of you agree with me? If I'm having a plan of constructing 100 apartments, and each apartment, the construction cost is going to be 50 lakh rupees, which means if I have to start this business, I need 50 crores in my pocket. Only then I should think about starting this business. Partnership says that if you want to form a partnership business, maximum owners are 50. So which means as per that concept, each and every owner has to contribute how much crores? If I'm forming a partnership business, the maximum owners I can have is 50. 50 owners is maximum I can have. So which means each of them has to invest 1 crore rupees. Now the problem is, if all the 50 owners are having 1 crore, then not a problem, I'll form partnership. But what happens if certain owners only have 10 lakh? Some owners have only 15 lakh. Some owners have only 20 lakh. So partnership is got some limitations, right? So as a sole proprietorship, being a single owner, I cannot invest 50 crores. In partnership, despite having 50 partners, I'm unable to start my construction business. The gates have been closed by sole proprietorship business. The gates have been closed by partnership. The only gate that is left open is company. The only gate that is left open is company. Are you able to follow, guys? That's when the concept of company is created. So company is a very unique concept, which is very different from the concept of a sole proprietorship business and partnership business. Your accounting treatment, the concept, everything will vary with whatever we studied so far. Okay, now are you able to understand why this company is created? Why are we studying company? Are you getting the pulse and feel and pulse of why are we going to study company? Is it digestible or not digestible? Do you think that yes, there has to be a concept of company in India? If there's no concept of company in India, people cannot do business properly, because partnership and sole proprietorship has got certain limitations. To overcome that limitation, the concept of company is created. So now, do you all agree that we have to learn what is company, and we have to learn the accounting treatment for companies? All of you are clear with this? I'll proceed forward. What are the other forms and bodies? Sir, other forms and bodies are LLP, which is limited liability partnership, which is not there in your scope of study. Then we have something called HUF, Hindu Undivided Family. Then we have something called cooperative society. Then we have something called trust. Trust and cooperative society is nothing but we study in form of NPO. Okay, HUF is not there in your syllabus. LLP is not there in your syllabus. Like that, there are so many bodies in which you can start or form business. So in that, one such form and one such body of doing business is called company. If this is clear, I'll go forward.
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear, sir.
Now let's understand the meaning and definition of a company. A company is an association of person. Association means it is comprising of a group of person. It's not a single person. It is a group of person. A company, which is also known as joint stock company. A company is also known as joint stock company. It is an association of a person formed and registered under the Companies Act. What do you mean by registered? If you see, when we studied the concept of sole proprietorship, anywhere did you study in 11th standard that if I want to start a sole proprietorship business, if I want to start a sole proprietorship business, I need to compulsory register. Did you study the concept of compulsory registration? Only upon registration you can start this, or else you cannot. No, we never studied. So sole proprietorship business was never compulsory to register. Coming to partnership, in partnership when we studied, we came across that registration of partnership deed is optional. Registration of partnership deed is optional. Registration is not compulsory. Remember the second chapter what we studied upon partnership, registration was never optional, even there it was registration was never compulsory, even there it was optional. But in company, you cannot create a company unless and until it is registered, which means I cannot start my construction business of constructing this 100 apartments until and unless I form and register company. So registration of company is mandatory, very very important. Point number one. And where are you registered? Under Companies Act. What is Act? Sir, Act is basically the rules and regulations that is framed by the government. In India, there are thousands of acts, different acts. Each and every act has got different purpose. Like if you remember, for partnership, we have Indian Partnership Act 1932. For partnership, we have Indian Partnership Act 1932, which is a rule book which lays down the rules and regulations for partnership business. Similarly, for companies, the rules and regulations is laid down by Companies Act. So if you have any doubt in formation of company, in registration of company, in maintaining of the company, in following the various compliances of the company, the rule book what you have to refer is Companies Act. Nobody else. You have to go nowhere. Just buy a Companies Act book, read it thoroughly, you will be expert in Companies Act. Okay. A company is an association of a person formed and registered under Companies Act. Okay. It is created and affected by the process of law. In Companies Act book, the procedure is mentioned. By following that procedure, by law, because of the law, the birth of the company is taking place. So company, it is created and affected by the process of law. It is a legal person not having physical existence. It is a separate legal entity, that is artificial person. Can you recollect where did you come across this word artificial person?
11th standard BSc.
Sorry, come again.
11th standard BSc.
What is BHP?
Joint stock
BSc,
company.
BSc. Last year.
We studied this in traditional approach of accounting, golden rule. In golden rule, if you remember, we have three categories: personal account, real account, and nominal account. Personal account has got three bifurcation: natural personal account, artificial personal account, and representative account. So artificial person, right? So if you remember, in personal account, we learned the concept of artificial. That time you should have asked, sir, why artificial? From where artificial is coming? Because company's law, government has said that the company what you're forming and registering is a person, but not a natural person. It is an artificial person. The designation of a person of artificial person is given by law. That is why in golden rule, we had to implement artificial person there. Otherwise, artificial person was not required in golden rule. Since we had the concept of golden rule, since we had the concept of artificial person, since we have the concept of artificial person, we had to give a golden rule for artificial person. So the company what you're creating is an artificial legal person. It is a legal person. Legal person means it is a person which is created by the law, which is having no physical existence. If we're calling person should have existence. No, we are person. We are natural person. We are human being. Right? We are created by God. Right? So we are natural person. We are having physical existence. Whereas company being a person, it does not have physical existence because it is artificial. It is a separate legal entity. What do you mean by separate legal entity? In 11th standard, we studied the concept of accounting entity concept or business entity concept. Accounting entity, business entity concept says that the owner of the business and the business both are separate. Whenever you're accounting, you have to account from the business point of view and not from the owner point of view. Similarly, even here, the owner of the company and the company both are different. That concept is called as separate legal entity here. It is called as separate legal entity concept here. It is separate legal entity, that is an artificial person separate from its members, that is shareholder. The person who is owner here is called as members and shareholders. Owners are alternatively called as members and shareholders. So what is the meaning of shareholders? I'm going to explain you. So in companies, we never called as owner, we called as shareholders. Owner's alternative name, synonym of shareholder, sorry, synonym of owner is member or shareholder. So here the company is very much different and independent from its members and shareholders. Okay, a company, it says that it normally has share capital. A company normally has share capital divided into units called shares, the owner of which is called members or shareholders. This point, give me some time, I'll explain some time. You will not understand this line just like that. I will explain this in a short while. Skip this point and then let's go to the next point. It being company being a separate from its shareholders, that is owners or members, the insolvency or the death of the member does not affect the continuity of the company. In a partnership business, if there are two partners, even if one dies, partnership cannot run, because for running a partnership business, there has to be minimum one partner. So in this two partner, if one dies, another one cannot run the business. So eventually your partnership business will be dissolved. Or let's say there are three partners. If one dies, balance two, if they want, they'll continue or they'll dissolve. But here there's no concept of dissolution. If the members die, this will not affect the continuity of the business. Maybe in this three partner, if one partner dies, the main partner dies, maybe the remaining two partners may or may not continue. The business may come to an end. But in company, it doesn't happen like that. Even if the owner dies, owners will come and go. But business will keep on going on forever. Business will never close unless and until you close it. It being separate from its shareholders, insolvency or death of any member or the shareholder will not affect the continuity of the company. It will keep on continuing, which means company continues even if the member becomes insolvent or dies. What is the meaning of insolvent? Bankrupt. A person has become pauper, no money left in his pocket. It's called insolvent. So if even the business owner becomes insolvent, or even if he dies, it will not affect the continuity of the company. Company will keep on running. Owner may come and go, members may come and go, shareholders may come and go, but the company will go on forever. What is the dialogue? Members may come and go, but the company will go on forever. This is the punch dialogue. Members may come and go, but the company will go on forever. You're getting my point? So that is called as this concept. This concept is called as perpetual succession. Perpetual succession. What is meaning of perpetual succession? Sir, perpetual succession means members or shareholders will keep on coming and going, but their coming and their going will not affect the continuity of the business. It will not affect the company. That is called perpetual succession. So I've explained all the point except this point. It is normal. Now it is normally has share capital divided into units called, what is shares? I made to explain you. Yes, but you know what is the meaning of members and shareholders? Members and shareholders are nothing but owners of the business. I meant to explain you what is the meaning of shares, which I'll explain you through an example. Okay. Any doubt in the first paragraph? Any point which you're still struggling to understand?
No, sir.
Are you getting,
Understood, sir.
are you getting some idea? I'm just giving you outer line. We are yet to discuss a lot in detail. I'm just giving you an outer line of what company is. Right? Let's see section 2, subsection 20 of Companies Act 2013. Okay, so Companies Act 2013 means in 2013 this Companies Act was formed. So does this mean, sir, before 2013 there is no Companies Act? Sir, it was there. Before Companies Act 2013, we had something called Companies Act 1956. Companies Act 1956, which means in 1956 this Companies Act was formed. In 1956 this Companies Act was formed. So this company is there since so many years. This is not a new concept. This is there for so many years. So in 1956, depending on the government that time, depending on the situation that time, the rule and regulation, the law was framed. But what happened is over a period of time, there's a lot of evolution happening. So in 2013, what they did is they did a major change. They did a major amendment. Major amendment. Amendment means changes. They did major changes in this Companies Act 1956, because of which they felt that instead of having Companies Act 1956, better to name it 2013. So Companies Act 2013 comes with a lot more changes, which is very much relevant to the current scenario. Because in 1956, we had a lot of old rules and regulations, which is not applicable now. So we had to scrap this and form a new law, replacing 1956. So in every act or every law you take, you will commonly find the word section. You'll find the word subsection. You'll come across the word clause. You'll come across the word subclause. Okay, these are basically the reference point. If somebody asks me, sir, in Companies Act 2013, where it is given the definition of company, then I'll say, sir, please refer section subsection 20. Please refer section 2 subsection 20 of Companies Act 2013, which gives the definition of companies. So this is something which is helpful to refer. These sections are very useful for me to refer somebody. If I want to refer somebody, I can give page number, but I will not know in which page number what is there. Human being, it is not possible to remember. That is why for each and every explanation, they have section 2, subsection 20, section 2, subsection 1. Like that, sections and clauses wise, they have divided. So section 2, subsection 20 of the Companies Act says that company means a company incorporated. Incorporated means registered. Incorporate means registered. Please make a note of that. Incorporated means registered. Registered under this act. This act means what? Companies Act 2013 or any previous company law. Previous company law means Companies Act 1956. Who is a company? A company is an artificial person who is registered either under Companies Act 2013 or any other previous company law. Any other previous company law, whatever it is. Whoever is registering as per that law, they are called company. So if I am forming any company which is not as per 2013 and 1956, then those are not proper companies. Am I too fast? Am I too fast?
No, sir.
Comfortable, all of you?
No, sir.
Okay, excellent. So let's understand what did Professor Hane give the definition of company. He says that a company is an artificial person. Do you agree? Law also says that only, no? Law has said that company is artificial person. So Professor Hane says that a company is an artificial person. Artificial person means it is not created by nature. It is created by law. So hence it is an artificial person which is created by law having separate entity. Did we learn? We have the separate legal entity concept. A company is artificial person created by law having separate entity, separate legal entity with perpetual succession. What is perpetual succession? Sir, perpetual succession means people will come and go, but company will go on forever. Members may come and go, owners may come and go, but the company will go on forever. Perpetual succession means company will keep on running forever and ever and ever. That is the feature. A company is artificial person created by law having separate entity. First is artificial person created by law, separate entity. Fourth is perpetual succession and a common seal. What do you mean by common seal? Can somebody tell me? In anybody's school, volume 2 is started? Anybody started with volume 2?
No, sir.
For everybody, this is a first experience of the company?
No, sir. In our school, they started, sir.
Not started?
They started. They are yet to complete this chapter, sir.
Oh, they started. So can you tell me what is the meaning of common seal, Manish? Any idea?
There is like each company have some separate seal, sir. Or they will put in an agreement, I think so.
Why that seal is required?
Sir, so that the confusion does not.
Confusion does not arise. So this is basically, guys, if you see, each and every brand is known by their logo. So what is the logo? So let's say if I say BMW, can I say it is known for its logo? It is known for its logo. If you look at a BMW logo, you'll say it is BMW. So can I say this logo is an identification of the brand? If you see again, Audi has got a logo. So when you see this logo, you'll say this is Audi. So like that, every brand has got a logo. Similarly, company has got a seal, which is an identity. This seal will give the identity. If I keep the seal on some paper, okay, this gives an identity that this belongs to this company. So the seal will always be unique, very different from the other companies. So just like logo, these we have called seal for every company, a common seal. And this seal is something which has to be mentioned, or which has to be affixed on all the documents or all the contracts which the company is going to enter in future, right? So seal is basically the logo of the company, which we imprint on the documents so that we identify that this papers belongs to this company. That is called common seal. So a company is an artificial person created by law having separate entity with perpetual succession and common seal. With this, if you have any difficulties, please let me know. Any difficulty, any point which is bothering you? I told you in this first paragraph that I'm to explain you what is the meaning of shares. I think that one term shares is something people are very tempted to know about, which I'll explain shortly. Apart from that, any other word, any word which is still bothering you, you're not able to digest that word. I try to explain the meaning of almost every word, but still, if anything is bothering you, let me know. Vineet, Arya, comfortable?
No doubt, sir. No doubt, sir.
Okay, Vineet says no doubt. Arya, is my voice audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Excellent. Kushal, Rishabh, Hari, Siddharth,
Yes, sir.
Komal,
No doubt, sir.
Aishwarya, Karunya,
No
Abhiniya,
doubt, sir.
comfortable? Okay.
So-
Now let's understand the feature of the company. Characteristics or feature of a company. Incorporation. A company is an artificial person created by the process of law. That is, the Companies Act, either under the present Companies Act 2013 or under any previous Companies Act. So the first feature of the Companies Act is that a company can be formed only if it is registered. So first feature is registration. Incorporation means a company is an artificial person created by law, that is either under the Companies Act, which is present Companies Act 2013, or any of the previous Companies Act, like Companies Act 1956 example. Okay, so this is the first feature, incorporation. The second feature is separate legal entity. A company is an artificial person having a legal entity separate from its shareholders, which means shareholders are different from business, that is company. Company is different from a shareholder. Shareholders means what? Owner means member. So company is different from shareholder. So whenever I'm accounting, I'll be accounting from the point of view of the company and not the shareholder, right? So this differentiation is very important, because if they do not give the differentiation, you'll also start accounting from shareholders point of view, which will lead to confusion. That is the reason they had to introduce the concept of separate legal entity specifically for companies. Any doubt in point 1 and point 2?
No, sir.
Second, third point, it says that artificial person. In the eyes of law, it is an artificial person. Who? Company. So company being a person, it can own property. It can own property in the name of company. It can enter into contract with somebody. Reliance Limited is a company that can enter in contract with me, Pratik. Right? It can conduct business also. Company can conduct business. Company can be sued or be sued. The company can sue somebody. If some person is not paying the money to the company, company can sue that person. And if somebody to whom we are not paying money, if company is not paying money to somebody, the opposite person can come and sue the company. It can sue or be sued for its debt and actions. Like just like a person, just like a natural person, as a natural person can own property, he can also enter into contract, he can do business, he can sue or be sued. Just like a natural person, even an artificial person can do everything. That is why they have given the term person. A person means a person who can do everything just like a natural person, but it is not a natural person. To give a difference between natural person and artificial person, they've added the word artificial. Otherwise, it can do everything which a normal natural person can do. So this is the third feature of company. It is a third feature of company. So if you see Reliance Limited, so let's suppose Reliance Limited, if we have purchased, let's say Fortune's Fund Learning Academy is purchased some goods from Reliance Limited. Reliance Limited. We have purchased. So what do we do in personal account? Entry what we pass is purchase account debit. In the books of Fortune Fund Learning Academy, I'm recording this entry. Purchase account debit to Reliance Limited. Purchase account debit to Reliance Limited. Purchase is debited because debit all expense and losses. Reliance Limited is credited because Reliance is a artificial person account. It's an artificial person. And the rule is debit the receiver, credit the giver. So we are crediting R Limited because Reliance Limited has given goods to us. We have purchased goods from Reliance Limited. So that is the reason Reliance Limited is credited. Debit the receiver, credit the giver. So Reliance Limited being a company, Reliance Limited is not a human being. It is a artificial person. So we are crediting it. Are you able to understand what is Reliance Limited? Guys, just hold on 2 seconds. Yeah. Guys, are you clear with first 3 points? Are you clear with first 3 points, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Now understand perpetual succession or perpetual existence. A company has a perpetual succession. That is, its existence is not affected by the death or lunacy or bankruptcy of its member or shareholders. So if a member or a shareholder or the owner dies, the company will not come to end. If the member or a shareholder become mad, lunacy means what? Somebody is becoming mad. He will not. So that will not lead to closure of the company. If the member or the shareholder become bankrupt or pauper, even that will not affect the members or the shareholders of the company. For example, Reliance Limited. Reliance Limited, who's the main owner, who's got the highest number of share? Mr. Mukesh Ambani. Correct? If Mukesh Ambani dies, for example, do you think that Reliance Limited will be closed? No. Even after Mukesh Ambani dies also, this company will keep on continuing and doing its business. Are you able to follow? The life of a company comes to an end only by winding up through the process of law. So if you want to close the company, it's not like that, one fine day you'll get up in the morning and say that today I'm not in mood to continue the company, so I'll close it. Not possible, my dear. There's a process which is given in the law. You have to follow the process thoroughly. Step by step, all the process has to be completed. That process is called winding up. In partnership, we call it as dissolution. In company, we call it as winding up. So without winding up process, company, you cannot close it. Whereas a sole proprietorship, I can close one fine day in the morning. If I get up and say, I don't want to do business, everything will come to an end. Okay, but it cannot happen in companies. It has to go through a process. And that process, which is mentioned in law, and that is called winding up. Are we clear with the concept of perpetual succession? Members may come and go, but the company will go on forever. This is the slogan for perpetual succession. Any doubts in point number 4, please? Limited liability. Limited liability. The liability of its members is limited to the value of the shares subscribed. Now, you will not understand this point because you don't know what is the meaning of shares. You don't know what is the meaning of subscribe by them, or amount of guarantee. You don't know what is the meaning of guarantee. To be paid at the time of winding up in the case of companies limited by guarantees. However, in case of companies incorporated with unlimited liabilities, liabilities of the members is unlimited. So basically, when you create a company, what they will ask you is this a company? Is this a company? The 3 categories. Is this a company limited by shares? Or is it a company which is limited by guarantee? Or is it a company which is unlimited, which has got unlimited liability? Unlimited liability. Now, I explained the concept of limited and unlimited in the context of partnership. Can somebody please tell me what is the meaning of limited and unlimited? This is the balance sheet. Capital is, let's suppose, 10 lakh. External loan, external liability is 40 lakhs. Assets, various assets are worth 50 lakh. So can I say total is 50 matching? Balance sheet is matching? All of you? Assets total 50 lakh. Assets means what? It'll be land, building, furniture, fixtures, debtors, cash, bank, everything all put together 50 lakhs. Now what happened is, I'm closing the business. I'm closing the business. So what will we do? I will sell all the assets. I will sell all the assets and recover the money. So when I'm selling the assets, the final assets, when I sold and I recover the money, the total money after selling all the assets I'm having is only 10 lakh rupees. After selling all the assets, the money that I'm able to recover is only 10 lakh rupees. So what is the 50 lakh rupees? This is the 50 lakh worth asset in the business. How did this 50 lakh worth asset came? Sir, this 50 lakh worth asset I generated by taking capital from the owner and by taking loan from the bank. I took loan from the bank 40 lakh. I took capital from the owner 10 lakh. I have created so much of asset. So today when I'm closing the business, when I'm going to sell all the business assets, the assets have fetched me only 10 lakh rupees. What is my capital here? My capital is 10 lakh rupees. My external loan is 40 lakh rupees. Now please tell me one thing. Obviously this assets, whatever you sold, this is not asset. This is basically, I would say, full amount in my cash. All the assets I sold and I generated cash. So cash is also asset. So total money that I have is 10 lakh rupees. If my business is partnership, you all know that the liability of the partnership is limited or unlimited.
Unlimited.
The liability of the partnership is unlimited, which means what happened,
Limited, sir.
you will take this 10 lakh rupees and give to the external liability holder. Sir, please take this 10 lakh rupees cash. The banker is asking, okay, you give me 10 lakh rupees. Where is balance 30 lakh rupees? If the owners and the partners are telling, sir, that's all, sir, we don't have any money in the business. If we don't have any money in the business, what will bank do? Bank will go to court straight away. It will go to court. What will court do is, court will go to the partner's house. They'll see the balance sheet of partners. So partners in their personal capacity, they'll have assets and liabilities. So let's say here the assets are worth, let's say 80 lakh rupees. Okay. From this 80 lakh rupees, what will happen? Court will take 30 lakh from this and give it to the banker. So what is unlimited means? Unlimited means if the assets of the business are not sufficient to pay the external liability holders, then court may order to sell the private properties of the owner, recover money from that and satisfy this 30 lakh rupees. This is called unlimited. Limited means what? Banker, he will get 10 lakh rupees from this asset, balance 30 lakh. If the business is not able to pay, then for bank, it will be a loss. Bank will never get this 30 lakh from anybody. When the liability is limited, the court or the external liability holders cannot go to the private balance sheet of the owners. They cannot go to the private properties of the owner. They cannot sell those properties and recover the money from that. Unlimited means they can go to the private property, sell those property, encash the money and give it to the external liability holders. In limited liability, they cannot do that. So limited liability, the concept of company is the liability is always limited. Limited to the extent of shares remaining unpaid. Limited by shares. Limited by guarantee, unlimited. So I explained the concept of limited, but these two concepts you'll understand not now, little later, as and when we keep on doing the sums. One thing you have to understand that in company, the liability is maximum, it is limited. It is limited. When it becomes unlimited, when they come to know that the loan you are not paying because of fraud, okay, if you are doing some fraud and purposely, if you have done some cheating, then the company will be converted into unlimited. Otherwise, it will be only limited. The feature of the company it is that it has got always the limited liability. It has always got the limited liability to the extent of the shares unpaid. So this you will understand only as and when we keep on doing the chapter forward. Are you able to follow? Now, I'll take this moment to explain you what is the meaning of shares. Anybody, any idea what is the meaning of share? Before that, with whatever I explained, the concept of limited and unlimited liability, anybody's got any doubt in that first?
No, sir.
Sir.
No, sir.
All of you clear? Arya,
Clear, sir.
Vineet, Manish, all of you clear with that? Sayukta?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Clear with that.
Now, can somebody please tell me, what do you understand by the term shares? What is your understanding by the word shares?
The stakes, sir.
What do you mean by stake?
So ownership in the company, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Others? Others, what do you feel? For
Capital
every
of the
business,
company divided
capital of the company divided into,
small parts and like taken from the public then,
why are we dividing into all small parts?
because a huge amount is required.
Okay. Okay. So basically what happens, guys, as you know that whether I'm doing a sole proprietorship business or whether I'm doing a partnership business or whether I'm doing a company or anything you start, for everything you need one uh, item called capital. You cannot start any business without capital. Okay. So this capital and shares are linked to each other. So let's see if I'm starting a construction business. Okay. I need 50 lakhs as capital. 50 lakhs as capital. Is it possible by one person for me? Let's assume that this 50 lakhs is a very huge amount. Let's assume that this 50 lakhs is very huge. Is it possible for one person to invest this 50 lakh rupees?
No, sir.
Not possible. Just imagine this is 50 lakh crores, even for easier understanding. That much huge amount. Not possible, right? For simplicity, I'm taking 50 lakh rupees. This 50 lakh rupees is called as capital. This 50 lakh is called as capital. This is called as share capital. This is called as share capital. Why share capital? Okay. Now listen to me very carefully. When I do a balance sheet of a proprietorship business, of a sole proprietor, when I create a balance sheet, I'll write the word capital. Let's say 50 lakh rupees. If this is invested, this business is of Pratik, they'll write Pratik's capital account, correct? Pratik capital account 50 lakh. If I'm doing a business of a sole proprietorship, I'll record Pratik capital account. If I do a business of a partnership, then balance sheet, what will I record? I record A's capital account, B's capital account, right? Let's say 25 lakh, 25 lakh. So total 50 lakh. So when I come to company, it is called share capital. When I come to company, it is called share capital. When I come to company, when I create a balance sheet of a company, then I'll call it as share capital. How much? Total 50 lakh. Why? Because this capital is not contributed by 1%, 2% or 3% so that I can write the name. This could be contributed by 50 people. This could have been contributed by 500 people, or this could have been contributed by 5,000 people also. So do you think if I record on the face of balance sheet, if I record 5,000 people's name, will it make sense? Will the balance sheet look neat and presentable?
No, sir.
Right. So that is why we have only one straightforward heading called share capital. So does that mean that you will not maintain the name of the person who has contributed capital? No, we will maintain. We'll maintain a separate register. Okay. We'll maintain a separate register called members register. Members or shareholders register. In that register, how much is the first person contributed capital? How much second person contributed? Like that, how much 100% is contributed? How much the 500% is contributed? Everything will be mentioned. So it will be mentioned in the register. Okay. In register, will have the details of which all owner has given how much money on which all date. So all the details will be mentioned in register, because if I write or incorporate everything on the balance sheet, just like a sole proprietorship business or a partnership business, then this balance sheet alone will go for thousands of pages. And this will not be user friendly for the members to read it. For the owners to read the balance sheet, it will not be easy. That is why we record as share capital. It is called as share capital. Okay. Now the meaning is, what is meant by share? What is the meaning of shares? Now what happens is, now let's suppose that, let's take an example of pizza. Please tell me in a regular pizza, how many slices of pizzas are there? In regular pizza, if I'm ordering a regular pizza, how many slices of pizzas will be there in there?
6.
In regular 6, sir. My
No
God.
idea, sir.
Are you guys serious? You don't know? Regular, medium,
Sir, we have
large.
to order the slices, right?
Sorry?
Eight slices.
Sir, I think 6 slices.
My
The
God,
regular means
you guys
4.
don't deserve to, go to Domino's. Never ever talk about pizza next time. You are a
4.
losers.
Regular is 4.
Sir,
Sir,
who
we
cares
don't
how
go,
many
sir.
pizza?
We don't
Regular
go.
4, medium 6, large 8. Guys, how can you forget? Oh my God, I can't believe this.
Sir, I thought regular is medium.
Sir, we don't eat junk food, sir.
What a
Half
disaster.
regular is large.
I didn't forget, sir.
Sir, हमको तो सिर्फ खाने से मतलब है. Nitya is like, sir, we are only bothered about eating. Who cares 4 is there, 6 or 8 is there?
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
My God. Being an account student, you should keep counting of everything. Okay. Now let's suppose that we need 50 lakh slices of pizza. 4 slices in one regular. Okay. I need 50 lakh slices. If I need 50 lakh slices, please tell me how much pizza should I order? If one pizza is equal to 4 slice, then for 50 lakh slice, how much pizza?
12 lakh 50.
12 lakh.
Hey. You'll learn
Calculator.
12
lakh divided by 4. How much?
12 lakh 50,000, sir.
12 lakh 50,000 suniya?
How much, sir?
Okay, sorry, I heard it something else. 12.50 lakhs. Now, for convenience sake, let's assume that okay, wait. For convenience sake, let's assume that in one regular pizza, for convenience, 10 slices are there. 10 slices are there. Now I need 50 lakh slices. So what I'll do, if 1 is equal to 10 slices, then for 50 lakh slices.
5 lakh.
So what I'll do, sir, 50 lakh divided by 10. So 5 lakh pizzas I need to order. 5 lakh pizzas I need to order. In same way, what happens is, if I need 50 lakh rupees as my share capital, okay, each and every share capital is divided into multiple slices and units. Here in pizza we call it as slices. In companies we call it as units. We break each and every share capital into units of 10 rupees each. So each unit is called as a share. Each unit is called as a share. So 50 lakh rupees is the total money that is required for me to start the business. So one share is equal to 10 rupees. Which means if you want to come and invest in my company, minimum 10 rupees. So if you invest 10 rupee, you will get one share. So face value per share is rupees 10. So can I say share, number of shares? What is number of shares? Number of shares. Number of shares is equal to share capital divided by the face value. What is share capital? Sir, share capital is 50 lakh rupees that is required to start with the business. 10 rupees. 10 rupees is the price of one share. 10 rupees is the price of one share. So how many shares? Sir, 5 lakh shares. So every company you start, it will be mentioned that every capital has to be divided into number of units, number of shares. So share or units, or let's say your amount per unit. Amount per unit is 10 rupees. So there are basically 5 lakh shares or 5 lakh units, number of shares or units. This 10 rupees is the unit value or the share value, per share value, or I would say per unit value. This is per unit value. So if I'm starting a company, there'll be 5 lakh units, 5 lakh share, each of them 10 rupees. So if I want to start, let's say I'm starting a company and all of you are interested. Let's say if I'm starting a company, since I'm starting the company, I'll be one owner. So let's say owner's name is Pratik. Another owner, let's say Nandini has shown the interest to invest in the company. So Nandini will buy some shares. Then Roshni will buy some shares. Then Sayukta. Then Akash. Okay, let's say 5 people have purchased. Let's say Pratik is purchasing depending on the money what I have. In my bank balance, I have only how much rupees? 10 lakh rupees. So 10 lakh divided by 10 rupees per share, which means I'm purchasing 1 lakh. So out of 5 lakh shares, I'm investing or purchasing 1 lakh share. So number of shares is how much? Number of shares is 1 lakh. Face value per share is 10 rupees. So what is the share capital I will give it to the company? I'll give 10 lakh rupees. Why? Because I do not have the entire 50 lakh rupees to invest. So I'm inviting multiple people. I want to do this project. When I communicated about this project to Nandini, Roshni, Sayukta and Akash, all of them were pretty excited. But everybody had certain limitation. Nandini also did not have full 50 lakh. Roshni also didn't have. Sayukta depends. You never know. People coming from jewelry background, you never know. No? In one shot, they'll give 50 lakhs. So Sayukta can be an exceptional case. And then comes Akash. Akash being from Dubai, you never know. In one shot, he can pay 50 lakhs. Akash? Right? If he converts all the dirhams in rupees, 50 lakhs will just be nothing for him. Georgie, do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So likewise, Nandini is saying, sir, my bank balance is little restricted. I have only 5 lakh rupees to invest. So what is happening? 5 lakh divided by 10 rupees. That is 50,000. So she's purchasing only 50,000 rupees. So 50,000 shares. So number of shares, what she's purchasing is 50,000. Each share. For each share, she has to pay 10 rupees. If she's buying one share, she has to pay 10 rupees. If she's buying two shares, she has to pay 20 rupees. If she's buying 50,000 shares, she has to pay 20 rupees. So like that, 50,000 into 20. Multiply, if you multiply, you'll get, she has to invest how much? 10 rupees, no? 5 lakh rupees. She has to pay 5 lakh rupees. So capital invested by Nandini is how much? 5 lakh rupees. Roshni has got little less amount. She's like, sir, I can only buy 10,000 shares, sir. So she's buying 10,000 shares because she would have calculated that each share is 10 rupees. So 10,000 into 10 is 1 lakh rupees. She's like, sir, I have only 1 lakh rupees, so I'll invest only 1 lakh. Now Sayukta says, sir, I want 40,000 shares, sir. Or let's say she wants 80,000 shares. So 80,000 shares. She would have calculated that each share is 10 rupees. So 80,000 into 10 is 8 lakh rupees. So she's paying 8 lakh. Akash is telling, sir, I want 90,000 shares, sir. So into 10 rupees, 9 lakh. So how much it happened? 10 lakh plus 5 is 15. 15 plus 10 is 25, 28. 28. 10 plus 5 plus 1 plus 8 plus 9 is how much? If I'm not wrong, 28. Because
33.
9 plus 1 is 10. So 10 plus 10 is 20. 33 is it? 10, 10, 20,
33,
20,
sir.
29, 33. How much is balance?
Yes.
17. Balance is 17. Manish, since he's good at calculation, I gave offer to Manish.
What, sir?
So Manish is telling, sir, I can buy 30,000 shares, sir, of 10 rupees each. So 3 lakh. Okay. Another, Vineet. Vineet, how much shares you want to purchase? Vineet is saying, sir, I have 50,000 rupees. I'll buy 50,000 shares, sir, each 10 rupees. So 5 lakh. Again, who is the partner? Who wants to invest? Who wants to invest? Kushal says, sir, I will buy 90,000 shares, sir. Into 10, 9 lakh. 9 lakh. Now is it 50?
Yes, sir.
Right? So this 90,000, 50,000, 30,000, 90, 80, 10,000, 50, 1 lakh is called shares. Okay, these are the units. Shares means units given. Each unit price is 10 rupees. So the entire share capital is broken down into various units. So what I'll do is, if Kushal is buying 90,000 share, I'll give him one certificate called as share certificate. In that I'll mention, you purchase 90,000 shares of 10 rupees each. So you have to pay 9 lakh rupees. So this is a certificate which I'll give, which the company will give to Kushal. Likewise, everyone who has invested the money in the business will be given a share certificate to acknowledge how much money you invested. Out of that money, how much shares you have. This will be mentioned. So the best part of the company is that even if somebody wants one share, into 10 rupees, he can give and take. If he's got 10 rupees in his pocket, if he wants to give 10 rupees and get one share, it is possible, which is not possible in partnership. You getting my point? So there is no restrictions here that you have to minimum investment so much value, minimum 5 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh you have to invest, or minimum 10,000, 5,000 shares you have to take. There's no minimum restrictions. Each and every person can take how much ever shares they want. There's no compulsion to invest a minimum capital. Depending on your capacity, you can buy the shares. So what is shares? So basically the capital of the company, which is divided by the value is called into number of units. It is called as shares. Shares is called as units. Like each share is got 10 rupees. This is 10 rupees. This is 10 rupees. This is 10 rupees. So like that, if I take 90,000 units, then into 10 rupees, I'll get 9 lakh rupees. Are you able to follow what is share? What is share capital? So 50 lakh rupees is the share capital, which is given. The money is given by thousands of people. Here in our case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. But in companies like Reliance Limited, have you heard this word Reliance Limited? Which is a company of Mr. Mukesh Ambani.
Yes, sir.
In this, there are thousands of owners. There are thousands of owners. Even there could be a possibility that your parents would have taken one of the shares of the Reliance Limited, and even they are the owners of Reliance Limited. Check with your parents if they're trading in shares. If they're dealing in shares, they would have purchased 1 or 2 shares of Reliance Limited. Even if you have one share of Reliance Limited, you will be called as owner. Any person who's got share in the company, even one share, they are called as shareholders or members or owners. You getting my point, guys? So what is 50 lakh? So 50 lakh is called as share capital. Sir, what is this 10 rupees called? This 10 rupees is called as face value. If nothing is mentioned in the question, we will always assume that the face value of the shares is 10 rupees only. Right? Each share, the price of each share, fair value of each share is 10 rupees. In question, they'll mention whether it is 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, they'll mention. Nothing is mentioned, we assume 10. Then what is this 5 lakh called? So this 5 lakh is called shares or units. This capital, when divided with face value, 50 lakh divided by 10 rupees, if I do, I'll get the shares. Right? So 5 lakh is called as shares. Then the person who's investing the money, this person who's investing this money or who's buying the share is called as share holders, or they're called as members, or they're called as owners. So even if you're having one share in the company of 10 rupees, even if you invested 10 rupees, you are called as owner of the business. Are you able to understand this?
So shares and unit are the same, sir.
Yes.
Shares and unit meaning.
Share and unit are same. This is called share price or unit price. 10 rupees is called as share price or unit price. Yes, units are also called as shares.
Okay, so
Comfortable?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the concept of shares, guys. What I'll do is I'll stop today's session with this. We'll come back and continue because I need to little bit explain this point. Mainly here and here. So if I start, I need at least 20 minutes to complete this. So we'll put an end to the session here. We'll come back and continue the theory part in the next class, which is again on Wednesday. Guys, Wednesday again we're meeting 7:30 to 8:30 only for 1 hour. Okay. Now,
Okay,
any
sir.
doubts so far from the starting of this class till now? If you have any doubts, please ask me.
So face value is the price of one share, sir. Can
Exactly.
we tell like
Yes, it is the price of per share, each share. Price of one share is 10 rupees. That is called face value.
okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other doubts, guys? Don't worry, but we will be discussing a lot about this in future. It's because the entire concept of the accounting of companies is revolving around share capital, fair value, face value, shares, unit, shareholders, members. So again and again, this will get repeated. So even if you don't want to remember, no, you'll be practicing so many times that automatically everything will go into your head. Okay. The purpose behind you doing class with me is that you need to understand the entire concept. A lot of people, they find this company's account very tough because they don't understand the concept. Without understanding the concept, they try to by heart the journal entries, because of which they always find company's account very difficult. And the second problem what people do is they don't understand the language. One place where your examiner can make the concept, or let's say the sum tougher, is depending on the language. They can give the language in such a crooked way. Even a simpler thing is complicated and put in front of you, you will feel that what they have told. And it is very complicated. It's something which I cannot do it. So in our class, we'll try to get the command over the concept. We'll understand the concept, we'll gain the mastery over the concept, and we'll get the command and mastery over the language also. How do you read certain things? How do you interpret certain things is what we'll study. So these two things will be the key takeaway from my class, which will make your understanding of the company's accounts very easy. And this is 100% scoreable area. You cannot go wrong here. It is very, very easy. But only if you understand the language and the concept correct. If any one is also missing, you will find this chapter as very tough chapter, just like any other people or any other students. If you ask your seniors, they'll tell you, say, this is little tough, sir. Right? So I feel this is easy depending on the way you understand it. So with this, I come to end of today's session, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.